This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. This is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we are here to go over minute number 91 today. We had a great episode yesterday with our friend Jeff, who is a jeweler, and was able to help us determine just how much might be on the ship, at least in this one room, or even on this one table in the Inferno. And my God, was it more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be, especially those gold coins. I never have even a frame of reference. I guess I don't even comprehend it. It's so foreign to me.
Right. We know gold equals a lot, and especially if it's treasure and it's got, the antiquity value that he spoke of. But God, was it more than I thought it was going to be. One of those coins was like, I can't even remember.
100,000, 10,000, 10,000 maybe.
Oh, it was in the hundreds of thousands,
I can't remember. It was disgusting.
Yeah, it was disgusting. We're actually going to be having Jeff on again for minute number 106, where Rosalita finds the marble bag full of jewels, and he is going to tell us if
some of those are big.
Yeah.
They're big jewels.
And he's going to tell us if what is in that one bag would be enough to save the Goondocks, and I think we might be surprised. But with that said, we're going to make everybody wait 16 more minutes, and until then, you want to go ahead and get into minute number 91?
Let's get into the minute.
All right. In the previous minute, the Goonies had finally discovered One-Eyed Willie's treasure. They began to fill their pockets and readied themselves to escape before the Fratellis could catch up with them. Mikey began to tell the rest his plan for escape. At minute 91, Mikey continues to tell them his plan. Halfway through, he is interrupted by Ma Fratelli. She, Francis, and Jake are standing in the doorway of the room. She has a pistol raised at them and tells everyone to come outside. Data tells her that this is war, and he bolts out of the room. The rest of the Goonies try to catch up with him, but fail. Data opens his jacket, and a boxing glove attached to a spring flies forward. Unfortunately, it hits him right in the face. Francis points at Data and begins to laugh at him. At that moment, Data throws his arm forward, releasing the pinches of peril right from his sleeve. It's not long before Francis is screaming in pain. And thus ends minute 91 of the Goonies. So right here at the beginning of the minute, we have music kind of picks up. Mikey starts going into this epic plan of how they're going to dodge the Fratellis who are still after them, and we're like, okay, that means they're going to be following this plan. If there's that much emphasis being put on it, and our leader is saying this is what we'll do, boom, Ma Fratelli is already in the room. So it's a good way of throwing us off, the audience, by setting up something that they're clearly going to do, and then nope.
Yeah, just for a second, you might have forgot about the Fratellis. Yeah.
Steph says, hey, let's get out of here. Get everything you can.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yep. And I think it's funny because the look on Francis's face is just not threatening at all. It's just kind of like, okay.
No, especially when they walk out. But I think what's funny, Andy and Steph look like they've just gone to a Mardi Gras parade.
They really do.
With all of the, with a little bit more expensive or value than Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah, a little bit. And
Yeah.
you've talked before about how much money you've spent on Mardi Gras beads in the past. Like, what was it, $5,000 or something?
No,
500.
Maybe
500.
From Rounders. 500. No, 500.
Rounders with Matt Damon?
Yeah,
I never saw that.
John Malkovich. I like that movie.
I heard it was pretty good.
But yeah, about $500. But some people spend upwards of $2,000, and that's not even a scratch.
No.
It's not, or as I would say, it's not even a pimple on an elephant's butt.
There you go. To help
compared
everybody.
to how much this is worth.
With that visual. So this, also brings one thing to mind, and that is the image of Ma Fratelli riding down one of those water chutes.
Why didn't we get to see that?
God,
I wanted
why
to
didn't we
see
get
that.
That's all I want. It's like you can take out the rest of the movie.
She grunts, she growls. What kind of noise would she make? She would sound like a wild wildebeest.
Yeah, probably.
Or something. Although I assume that's what it would sound like.
Yeah.
But it's funny. The brothers and who was it that? Was it Brad Brad would talk about how the Fratellis are just cartoonish enough.
Former guest of the show, Brad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brad Mendenhall.
Mm-hmm.
Just cartoonish enough.
Yeah.
Not to take seriously and not to be quite as afraid as we should be when they get to scenes that could be portrayed as a little bit crossing the line.
Right, because we've already been there.
They have swords, but they knock over those barrels, and it's just like they're bumbling idiots.
Yeah, it's very Three Stooges. And so I think that might be the movie making up for how horrible the things we saw them doing earlier is like, okay, let's let these guys look like Laurel and Hardy and just do dumb stuff. In any other case, I would say, okay, that's a little over the top, but it works here. And, yeah, it's what the movie needs. We need a little lightheartedness and this sudden shock that we got where she jumped into the room.
Hey, how determined is Data though? This is
yes, I have a question.
Determined. But I will say this: he has been determined the last 20 minutes or so because remember when they were the original chase through the caves that the Fratellis are chasing him. Data is lagging behind because he's trying to think ahead of what kind of booby traps he can use.
He doesn't mess around.
And what did he say? We're not going to be taken
alive.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty studly for a guy that's not stout of figure.
Yeah.
But he's stout when it comes to intestinal fortitude and the ability to persevere and he doesn't care.
Here's my question.
He's not gonna give up.
I know. And here's how I think Data's a genius. So we go outside and he is so proud of the I can't remember the name of this particular invention. Pulls open his jacket and the boxing glove comes up and hits him in the face, makes him look like a clown, and the Fratellis start laughing at him, thus dropping their guard. And then effortlessly, without even looking, he just throws his arm up casually, and the pinchers of peril hit their destination.
Which, by the way, not as important as the first time, because that would have killed him, but this is pretty good.
Yeah. So do you think he was intentionally throwing them off by playing the goofball and saying...
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I just think he had a backup plan.
Yeah.
What was that punch? What was that called?
Is it the puncher of... Punches of power?
Punches of power.
So then we get into... I don't know. I thought it was him just kind of like brilliantly throwing them off because we've seen kids manipulate adults.
I guess it could, but but I didn't think that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
very rarely. But I could be wrong.
One way of looking at it. So here we are on the deck of the Inferno, a Spanish ship with English writing on the outside, the Inferno. And Amy Kinnerup, you talk about Brad Mendenhall, who was on the show. Our other guest on the same episodes was Amy, and she asked why the rhyme that was on the map earlier, when Mouth translates it, it rhymes in English. It would not have in Spanish.
Right.
So it's just another one of those things that I know it's a movie. Just shut up, Brady, and let it make its own sense. But I just find it funny that it's not written in Spanish. It's in English.
And then also we've seen movies before where there's a lot of subtitles, and then all of a sudden somebody starts speaking English.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a particular skit from Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Farley is on a game show, and Alec Baldwin's on this. He was the host that week. This is, obviously 95-ish, 94 to 96-ish. Alec Baldwin was the host. Still, I think, one of the best.
Oh, yeah.
And I think... was not David Spade, but Dana Carvey was the host of the game show. Mm-hmm. And it was a Japanese game show. And Dana Carvey speaks Japanese the entire time. And the premise behind it is Chris Farley doesn't speak Japanese, but somehow he's getting the answers right. But when you get the answer wrong, you have to cut a finger off.
I think
and he's
remember
freaking out. It's on his best of tape. It's awesome. Just really good stuff. But right at the end, Dana Carvey's, does it count? Because it was the, cathartic moment of the skit.
Okay.
So but where I'm getting at it is we see a lot of times where things don't make sense. Like everything's spoken one language and all of a sudden it's English. Do you see what I'm saying?
Like
that might be a long explanation of it.
But the Indiana Jones movies, the Nazis are speaking English when they should be speaking German. Right. Yeah, whatever. It's a more commercial film for predominantly American audiences. We got to do that.
But we want to. I think they just want a little bit of. They ride what I call riding the fence with it. They want the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
They want a little bit of that. Hey, they're speaking a different language. This is a Spanish ship.
Yeah.
And then they want to bring you back because this is kids predominantly movie that's just made for. So they're not going to be as wrapped up in that.
And
so they want to do a little bit of both.
Right. And the fact that we got as much Spanish in it is pretty, I'm fine with that. Because they didn't have to do that. This all could have been written in, they could say, hey, it's a Spanish ship, and then everything's written in English.
Right,
But
not even
they
think
have to
about
have
it. And
mouth-
nobody would have said much.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So-
I think that's the premise of riding the fence. Do it a little bit of both.
Yeah,
To
just
suit
enough.
to suit both people's likes.
Which this day and age you wouldn't get.
Right.
It would all be, they'd just bypass the whole foreign thing altogether.
Or they would just do flat out subtitles,
Uh-huh.
which would aggravate half your audience.
Yes, absolutely. Well, do you have anything else for this minute?
That's all I have.
Kind of a short one, but okay. I want to take this opportunity to make kind of a big announcement. We are going to have on later this week through the early part of next week, John Robert Wilson of the Fifth Element podcast as our special guest, and we're going to be going over minutes number 93 through 97. And John, who is just a hilarious stand-up comedian and is host of one of the best Movies by Minute shows, is going to be helping us get through some of the later portion of this movie. So we're very excited about that. And so you definitely want to be here for that, but you also want to be here for the rest of the movie, which is coming to a close very sadly. But it's been a hell of a ride.
It has been.
Good deal. All right, everybody. So we will see you back here tomorrow. And until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies
Never say die.
Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram at GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com.
You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Pele Media and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Pele Media.